Royal Marines and US Marines are not the same thing. You cannot answer who's better and who isn't because their mission sets and troop numbers are so far off. There has been an ongoing argument to who is better, the US Marines or Royal Marines, because of a public training exercise where the Royal Marines smashed the US Marines. Here is where and why comparing the two is completely pointless and not in the same universe of comparison. Let's start with the basics. Everyone is a Marine who passes Marine boot camp. That includes everyone from mechanics to infantrymen to aircraft pilots. So, off the bat, the word Marine and US Marine and the word Marine and Royal Marine have a completely different meaning and representation. To call everyone a Royal Marine who hasn't passed the Royal Marine boot camp would be extremely insulting. The US Marines have their own version of Elite Force. They are called MARSOC. Some would argue Force Recon belong on this list, but for argument's sake, let's just leave them off. Royal Marines are just Royal Marines. They are elite and are a commando unit component of the British military. So, one could actually argue the US Marines have their own version of Royal Marines. We just don't hear about it because MARSOC is the stepchild of the Special Forces community. Let's talk about the US Marines having their own Air Force. The Marines have their own fighter pilots within the Marine Corps and are a self-sustainable fighting force. The British Royal Marines do have their own air component, but again, it's more of a transportation role to get people where they need to be. If they wanted air support, they will need to have attachments or an air component on standby. You see why comparing the two is starting to sound a tad bit silly? Here's a good one for you. US Marines are a conventional force with roughly 180,000 troops. The British Royal Marines have around 8,000 troops. Now, arguably the British Royal Marines have always worked with small numbers and they don't need tens of thousands of troops. They are an elite commando unit who operate under quality and not quantity. I also want to add that by comparing forces under restricted environments such as training events or war games is a massive mistake considering one side is always meant to lose. It would be a complete waste of time to see who would win in a US Marine vs Royal Marine showdown considering the massive number mismatch and missing air components. Not to say the US Marines and Royal Marines train together a lot and are great friends on the battlefield. If you enjoyed this rant, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, leave a comment on what rant you would like to see next, and I'll see you guys later.